pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to dispense with the roll call since we can see each other, okay? I mean, there's only three of us, so I don't think we need that
On
anymore.
your mic.
Yep. Warren's down there, so. All right, approval of minutes.
I looked over them and that I didn't see anything, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Also, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of claims. Let me get that part. Right here. Okay.
You're not supposed to hide it, Mike.
Well, he's doing a pretty good job of it. Okay, money transfer, $636,983.42.
That was for the lit.
Oh, that was,
Yeah,
okay.
That's
The wheel-
all one there.
Okay, it was wheel tax, ditch claims, okay. County general, $116,403.47. Courts, $1,298.19. Highway department, $9,794.25. Sheriff's department, $20,387.91. ACH, $121,545.49. CAW2, $38,334.59. CAW1, $15,919.38. Payroll deduction, $172,259.01. Payroll, $712.50. Payroll, $379,822.79. Do we need to say, oh,
Yeah. Need a motion to,
I saw everything. I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
I'll second.
all agree, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. What's it? Oh, that's
That's the
the
minutes.
minute.
Yeah,
Okay.
start that.
All right. Treasury report and clerk's report.
Yes, we just need acknowledgement on those.
Yep, that's them. Is that close enough? You said acknowledge it. That's what it is. Man,
Yeah, I think I've.
did you acknowledge
Yeah,
that too?
yeah.
That's what it
yeah,
is.
I've seen that. Yep. In case you haven't seen them.
All right, and we're gonna have George Ballard come up and talk to us. We need to listen to George for a while.
Short.
Short and sweet.
Yeah, this is the one branch, I'm still working on the property acquisition. And we are starting the zoning process, actually going to start that here, so I believe before we meet, I'm leaving. Get that in the process. Also, here this evening, Sansei, pronounce it right, Sansei Patel. RQAW architect working on the jail project. And I know what you've got down here, his contract, but you might have to kind of move that up and because he does need to with the Oregon City.
Okay. Yeah.
It's always good.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Ajay Patel,
Good evening.
Manager with RQAW Corporation. We're here to kind of just start the next phase of the design. As we've explained earlier, this design is a three-phase three-phase process. The initial phase is schematic design, it's been kind of wrapped up. And we're looking for approval to proceed with the next two phases. Design development and construction documents. When the construction documents phase is completed, that's when you go on the street for bidding, and that's when you get hard numbers on the actual cost of the project. Carmont has put together a bunch of numbers, which you have included in the contract documents for your approval. If there are any questions, we have to answer them, but we're basically just looking for approval at this point to move on.
Sanjay, I've had a chance to look through quite a bit of things today even and in the previous weeks. And I believe it's coming together pretty good. I think we've had good communication. Would you agree? Open line of communication back and forth.
Absolutely.
And negotiating fees and figuring out what works best for our project. So at this moment, though, there's still some more to be read there. And I mean this in an utmost respectful manner. But we could surely use a little more time to look at that contract and distribute it, since there were so many changes made to it. And just today in some of our discussions. And the reason I say that is we have another meeting coming up here pretty soon, just a couple of weeks away, to where I foresee us locking it in and moving forward. So I don't want you to think we're putting this off for a long term by any means. It's just, it's hard to get through 150, 160 pages in a couple hours, and
I got 20-page document and it wound up being 100 plus pages. I understand perfectly, making sure that everything has been checked off on before we sign the contract. And again, we're not looking for a signature today. I think this is more of you telling us, yep, we're good, we will eventually sign the contract. You are authorized to proceed with the rest of the design phase project. So we will continue to work towards making that schedule, take our normal established, so we don't lose time and
Sure.
inflation costs, and that's something that we have to be very. So that's all we're looking for, and move on. And contracts, again, like you mentioned, more.
Okay.
It takes another couple of weeks. More than happy to.
I think our next meeting is February 1st.
Okay,
Is that fair enough?
that'll work.
Okay.
Definitely need time to look at it. I haven't got anywhere near through it, so. Thank you.
Appreciate it. And if you would, if you probably already have, but if you haven't, send all three commissioners a copy of the updates. And I feel like it's a good project, and we've made a lot of headway. So I'm looking forward to reading this new version, if you will.
I don't have a copy with me, but I can send you a copy. Yeah, to answer any questions during the next 2 weeks too, if you have.
You just want to hold that for the next meeting then?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll move, we table this until the next meeting,
I'll
which
second.
is February 1st.
All in favor of table it, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Okay, now on the old business is the Southern Hills subdivision.
This is the time and date of the public hearing that was published in the Princeton Daily Clarion. And notice was sent to adjacent property owners, anybody that is here to speak on the Southern Hills subdivision for the public hearing. Please come to the podium, state your name and your position.
For the engineer for the developer, SDM Development. Two of the owners of SDM are here tonight if you have specific questions. Matt and Bill Reinberg. The subdivision's been for kind of a long time coming to get to where we are right now. We initially started the subdivision hoping to install a lift station and be able to pump to the sewage treatment plant. Those plans fell through from the standpoint of access to that plant. Just there's no route to be able to get there. So whenever that fell through, we looked at other options as far as how we can provide sewer to the property and still get a decent density on the property. So from that standpoint, like the subdivision review committee, they started off, we went to a meeting in April for sub review. And at that meeting, we haven't done a whole lot on our end from that standpoint since then. It's all been in the works for the septic. So basically, it's a community septic system that's being proposed for this site. There's going to be 3 different locations for these field beds, and the large field beds that would be the overall development. Another engineer took care of the design for that, and we do have state approval for the septic system that was designed. So basically, every lot, there's 40 lots in the development. Every lot would have its own septic tank, but then the gray water that comes off of that tank would go into a trunk line and be distributed into these field beds that were approved by the state. So from the standpoint of the time frame from where we started to where we are now, those delays and that time frame, it's pretty well been the other individual taking care of the approvals through the state from the Indiana Department of Health. So we do have those in place for both the north side of the county road and the south side of the county road. Beyond that, as far as any drainage concerns for the property, there is no drainage plan or drainage ordinance for the county, but because we are directly adjacent to the highway, we were required to design the site based upon NDOT's standards so that they could approve the discharge of our property into their right of way. So from the standpoint of any drainage concerns, we are in a location where everything pretty well comes to us and through us to get to the ditch. So we are pretty well handling everything on our site and then discharging into the ditch that is adjacent to our property. So we're not directly discharging through another property to get to the ditch. We are the low ground that is coming through to get down to the ditch. So from the standpoint of what we designed for, we designed for a 50-year developed storm. Well, basically the entire development built out, driveways, houses, everything in place for a 50-year storm event. And what we're letting out is less than 10 years undeveloped as it exists today storm event. So from the standpoint of what's there today and what's there in the future, there will be retention basins on site that would handle the water. It would be piped to these basins. They would be stored for a short period of time and then outlet at a slower rate into the existing ditch. The subdivision has been reviewed from the subdivision review committee. I feel like we've addressed all the county ordinances from the subdivision standpoint. Everything should be addressed and okayed by the subdivision review committee. And then they also did say that they had followed up with the Union Township Fire, EMS, and the sheriff, just to make sure everybody, possibly anybody and everybody, could be notified of what's going on and have an opportunity to comment on the proposed development. Again, we do have approval for the septic system from the Indiana Department of Health. We do have a homeowners association set up to handle maintenance and so forth of that system. That was actually required for the approval of the septic system through Indiana, through the state of Indiana. So that is set up. It is in place today. And beyond that, I mean, it's for the most part a typical type development. The lots are pretty well a half acre, and there's 40 of them with 8 lots on the north side of the existing county road, and then the remainder on the south side of the county road that heads all the way down towards the highway. Front off 41.
My only question is, in this project, looking, why wouldn't you want to connect to city sewer? It seems like it would be, extremely beneficial to this project. And also you wouldn't have all the maintenance that you're going to have of the cluster system. So that's probably my only question is why wouldn't you want to connect to city sewer?
Well, that was the initial route that we were going, but the ability to get to a manhole to dump into with the lift station was not available. We would have to go across other people's properties to be able to get to that point. And there was discussions with some of the neighbors to try to acquire easements and see if anybody was willing to, participate or provide those easements, and that was
Were you denied by the town of Hobstadt? Formally, did they deny you hookup?
we couldn't get through the individual property owners between our property and.
I mean, were you told by the town of Hobstadt? I'm just trying to figure this out. Were you told that you couldn't hook up, or? I'm just trying to figure out why you wouldn't use city sewer, because most people want to use city sewer, right? I mean,
Well, we can't get to it. We can't get to it.
but were you told you couldn't hook up to it?
We can't get to it.
It seems,
Somebody else's property.
well, did you look into it though and talk to the town of Hobstadt and just say, hey, if we can get to it, could we tie into it?
That was our initial plan.
And they said yes, or did they,
Yes.
and Hobstadt said, yes, you could hook up into it?
Outside sewer system will handle.
Yeah, that's
But
my,
we can't get to, we'd have to get easements from adjacent property owners to be able to get across, be able to get to the sewage.
okay, but you're telling me the town of Hobstadt said they would. And I was looking at a few things too on this, and this is in Union Township, correct? Did you talk to Fort Branch about hooking on there or not?
No, that was not. Not okay.
Again, these are just some questions that I had about the project. But
My question is, when you hook in, how many houses you talking about hooking in one septic, in one field bed? How many houses you talking about hooking into one?
Well, there's gonna be multiple field beds and.
Well, I understand that, but you said like how many, 6 houses are gonna run into one field bed? Everybody's gonna have their own septic tank,
Correct. Yes.
but everybody's gonna be going into, some of them is gonna be going into a field bed all by themselves. That's, I mean,
There's multiple, there's 3 different locations for the field beds.
okay,
And there's multiple field beds in those.
but there's gonna be 40 houses,
Correct.
so that's gonna be a lot of crap. The gray water going through, and it's gonna start coming up and, and then it's, I mean, I don't know if it's ever been done anywhere it's worked out good. We need to check into that, but I mean, I'm just afraid of it. I don't like the idea of it.
well,
I mean, if I was gonna ask Benji Dye if I could, 2 of my kids want to put a house next to mine and run in the same field bed, I bet he's gonna say no.
It was Ben's idea for
Right.
the cluster system.
and I asked Ben, I said, Ben,
Brennan,
do we have any of these in Gibson County? I asked our health inspector, do we have any cluster systems in Gibson County? And he told me absolutely not.
Ben brought the idea to us. I
Yeah.
had never heard of the idea until Ben brought it to us. It was
Yeah.
Ben's idea to do the cluster system.
I wish he wouldn't have done that, but it's in the past now.
Yeah. Cause I'm sure that, like I said, if 2 of my kids wanted to build it next to me, they would not let them run their septic into my field beds.
If that's what we're coming to, we better slow down. I agree with Kenny on that.
They were sized appropriately. Like I said, we didn't do that design, somebody else did.
Yeah, I understand that.
All the approvals for the city, so.
Where are they located? Are those field beds located? I bet you're in the lowest spot in that, getting
We brought in
Field beds. There's one on the easternmost end down by the highway. There's a large outlot down there. It's a 2-acre outlot that will basically be built.
So are we saying that us in this room know more than the Indiana Department of Health? I mean, they're the ones that approved it already.
How many times have you seen them approve something and work?
I haven't seen them down here, right. I mean, I haven't seen them down here looking at it, but
So if I can, let me interject here. If we can keep a clean record, you've got to state your name so we know who's speaking if you're coming from the gallery.
I mean, we were waiting for the state, and yes, I agree. There's a lot of things the state approves, doesn't approve, and also doesn't approve that would work. But I mean, we're relying on the experts, the engineers, the state for review and everything. And I mean, I have some concerns, but I think they're concerns that can be covered, and it sounds like a lot of it has been thought of. And I mean, concern about 10, 15 years down the road. Well, I have concerns about my own septic system 10, 15 years down the road. And, and what it might entail, but that's also not ours to totally govern. The state says it'll work. I mean, I have to rely on people that, are in the know. I'm not.
we can hear a few other folks comment on or speak about it. We got a lot of people here.
If you don't mind, commissioners, Mr. Spindler, my name is Josh Claiborne. As I'm an attorney with Jackson Kelly, it's a pleasure to be back with you guys. I'm here on behalf of several concerned residents near this Southern Hills Crossing subdivision. You see many of them here. If it's all right with you, we have a letter just for the record, and otherwise I'd like to approach and give you all. I got actually several copies, so I'll give one here to Jason. He can pass it down, and then he's going to actually get other folks want one. I'm not going to read this verbatim, but I do want to highlight some of our larger concerns, and I guess for the benefit of you all and anybody else in the audience, just as a refresher, right now this is proposed as 39 lots in 2 phases. You'll see there phase 1 involves 14 lots with about 48 bedrooms. Phase 2 involves 25 lots with about 84 bedrooms. Now, phase 1 is right now designed with a daily flow of 5,850 gallons per day. And then phase 2 is going to add an additional 10,200 gallons per day, just so we know what we're talking about. Now, there are several concerns that we and the nearby residents have. First, there's a legal issue here in that this proposed subdivision is within 2 miles of the Hobstadt town limits. And in the state of Indiana, towns and cities are actually allowed, if they choose, to regulate from a zoning perspective development within 2-mile radius of their border. Hobstadt is called extraterritorial jurisdiction. Hobstadt has elected to have that extraterritorial jurisdiction, and this proposed Southern Hills Crossing falls within that extraterritorial jurisdiction. And so therefore, this is going to have to abide by the Hobstadt zoning code and the Hobstadt subdivision policy. And you'll see there, I quote on page 2, pursuant to the Hobstadt subdivision policy, any residential developer who desires to lay out and develop a new residential subdivision within the corporate limits of the town, or desires to create a new residential real estate adjoining the corporate limits of the town and connect the said subdivision to the town's water or sewer systems, must enter into an agreement with the town of Hobstadt, which agreement shall include the provisions provided in this policy. And as far as we're aware, and I'm not seeing anything in the record to suggest that these developers have created or entered into that kind of subdivision policy. You'll also see later on down that right now they're planning to have a 6-inch and 4-inch sewer lines rather than the 8-inch diameter that's required under the Hobstadt code. And then also within the Hobstadt code, you need to have fire hydrants, storm sewers, lot setback requirements, street signs, and street lights. We have no idea if any of that's in the plans. None of that's been currently in the record. And then we have a big issue here of zoning. Right now, this is zoned for agricultural use within the Hobstadt zoning plan, not residential use. So before you guys ever get to the point that I think they're wanting you guys to get to, these are some pretty big issues that I think this developer is gonna have to address. So we're getting pretty premature. And then I want to address next, this Indiana State Department of Health permit that they talked about, that was provided. Now, I've had a lot of dealings with the Indiana State Department of Health, and as well as I do. And the way these state agencies often work, as in this case, they've got some pretty bare bone minimum requirements you have to overcome. And then what they'll frequently do is say, okay, you overcome our bare bone requirements, but here are some other conditions you have to meet before this permit becomes valid. And you'll see on the third page here, we've got these three pretty important issues that are conditions of permit. Number one, they have to obtain a construction permit from the local health department. And that's an acknowledgement from the State Department of Health that localities matter, that you guys have the ability to put on your own requirements, that sometimes you have your own particular issues that you have to address. And that's important before the ISDH, the State Department of Health permit, really becomes active. So again, that's an important issue. Have they really satisfied the local health department officer to the degree that you guys as the commissioners feel like they need to? Has it met the local health code? Second, it needs to align with all the Hopstop code issues. And then that, once they, align with Hopstop code, all that's going to need to be submitted again to the State Department of Health for their approval. And then third, you'll see if you look at the State Department of Health approval levels, they're going to have to enter into an operation and maintenance agreement for the life of the septic system with a contract signed by the owner and service provider. And that's important because the State Department of Health wants to know, as Commissioner Key brought up, that this is going to be serviceable and functional for the life of those field beds and those septic systems. They want to see the State Department of Health. Have you engaged somebody? That hasn't been done yet. So I think these are all critically important things that really need to be done before you guys get to the point where you are. Now, here's some other things I want to highlight that I didn't talk about that wasn't in that record. First, I guess this is probably number 10 or 12 now, but in terms of not in the letter, and that is traffic and road concerns. If you drive in this area, as I'm sure you guys, as big commissioners, have done, those roads are not capable of handling this many houses, this many residents right now. Particularly when you think about the concerned residents that are already driving on those right now. I mean, even right now, without any additional houses, those roads aren't safe. So I think before you guys are going to take on this many, 39 lots, which really at the end of the day is not 39 people, but it's a lot more cars than that, a lot more traffic. You as commissioners are going to want to make sure this is safe for those kind of people. And that doesn't necessarily mean the roads have to be built, but there has to be a plan. Well, that's coming from them as the developers or you guys as commissioners. But I think these long-time, upstanding Gibson County residents and citizens are due the respect to know that their area is going to be safe if this goes in. I don't think that plan has been addressed or is in place. And finally, we've got some easement concerns. There is currently easements going along through this development. Are they aware of that? Have they addressed that? At least some of the property owners here, they haven't talked about that with them. Back to the easement brings up an interesting point, back to the town of Hopstop and town sewer issues. They did reach out to the town of Hopstop on one particular route to get there, but that doesn't account for all the various routes that one could take to get there. There are just a lot of questions, a lot of unknowns, a lot of things that even the State Department of Health wants to see before really their permit goes into place. So I think our message today is this is premature. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I'm an attorney and in courts of law, judges love to see the parties come to some sort of an agreement themselves so the judge doesn't have to get their hands muddy. And I think in many ways you guys are the same way. I think there is the potential for these residential homeowners and a property developer to come to some sort of agreement, some sort of consensus of addressing these various concerns. Who's going to maintain these field beds long term? Where will they be? How many will there be? Have you considered all other options? What about the roads and the streets? Sort of frontage, setback requirements, and then we've got the major zoning issues, among other things, through the town of Hopstop. There's just a lot to do before I think you guys really want to vote, and you really want to step in something and upset, again, all these really good citizens, when you have the opportunity, I think, for us to come together for some sort of agreement. So I'm happy to answer questions. I know the property owners are well, but I think the punchline for us tonight is there are a lot of issues, a lot of concerns, a lot of work that still needs to be done.
Okay, appreciate that.
Say after if you have questions for me.
I don't have any of those.
Please, so, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, they're building one right across the road from my house. They all know Fairview Heights. They already had a house set before it got approved by the commissioner. They did that. It's on agricultural ground. They have my address on their website. And it took me to tell them to get their right address. I come home from church. I got people in my yard, down in my field looking because they thought it was my property. That's the property that's for sale. That's a liability risk on my property. Now they're putting that all up there and they got all these roads and that roads is 25 foot. And some of us narrower than that. Now that they got all these, now then they got mailboxes they're trying to put up and they can't put them in the county ditch. I don't know where they're gonna put them. It's not my problem. But I'm telling you, I don't care for my address being on their website. And if you join people that's got property, you pull it up, Rhinebeck, Fairview Heights, and you pull it up, and you look at the pictures don't show their property. It shows mine. And it shows my address. And I'm being honest. But what happens if they want a person, let's say they want an extra bathroom in their house. Now you got this house here is on a shared septic system. They want to build another house, a bathroom on. Well, we don't have no zoning, so they can just go and put another bathroom in. Now you got something that's going to jam that septic up, but now you got, instead of 3 bathrooms, you might have 4, or you might have 5, whatever. And then if you get more houses and then they say, oh, I want to remodel and put another bathroom in, now you got another problem because they're putting in another add-on and they might be putting another a big fancy bathroom. And then your septic's not going to handle. And I know this for a fact because the only place I know around that does this is in Colorado and in really rocky country where they cannot because they don't have the room because it's all rock. So that's my thinking. And, I mean, if it's a problem, make the lots a little bigger. Yeah, so they can't get the 41 or 39 houses, make them an acre and a half or whatever, and it worked, but they cannot. The only thing I'm thinking is down the road, you got a person that they sell their house and then they buy another house. And I talked to several bankers on this matter. I talked to German American and she lives in Hofstadt. And I talked to German American and Old National. They both do loan transactions. They said that has to be disclosed on their deed. And then they probably wouldn't even loan them the money since they have a shared septic system, finger system. That's what they said. They would not approve a loan of that. And that was that Cruz that works for German American. And the other one was she was a German Old National downtown, and she's and her family used to own the electrical business down there at Hopstop.
I appreciate that. It seemed like less of a question for me and more of a comment, but appreciate that. And I think, as Mr. Spindler said, I think if you want to come talk, maybe say your name and address.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity to talk.
Thank you. Gary Seibert.
Yeah. My name is Gary Seibert. I do private consulting work sometimes for different various people in the county and some of the Saltwater Conservation District also. I've had, I don't live here close by on the site, and so it doesn't really pertain to me. I've actually reviewed the plots and looked at it, and the engineering design on the septic will work for a while, and then like anything else, there's no such thing as zero maintenance.
And in this neighborhood association, from my understanding, they're gonna do $300 a year per home to maintain everything that goes on in the subdivision. And that's not gonna be enough to maintain a septic system like this. I looked at the water well system. There's a water well close by it. Then, and right where these are sitting at, there's 18 feet to the water table. And this much concentration at that side, sitting on 18 feet of clear water is, in my opinion, is not very well. In all the experience I've had, you would have a hard time building an animal control facility with that much water, with that being close. And that hasn't been addressed on the site either. There's several water wells at this location, around this location, but the closest one is 18 feet. And there's some other wells. Another thing, they said there's no, I talked to the engineer, and he's a personal friend of mine, that has nothing to do with this, but this, is, ask him if he's seen any of these anywhere around. He's not seen any of them. He's not, none that he's aware of, maybe around Indy somewhere. He thought maybe one might be in Greene County somewhere, but he's not familiar with it. He's not any of it. But according to all the rules and regs, it will work, but I know it's only gonna work for a while. And then you'll have a minute. So there has been one, after looking at some research, Indian Hills built one, had a communitized septic system years ago. It was different design than what this is. But it failed miserably. And the town of Fort Branch had to incorporate, annex, Indian Hills a few years ago. Warren, he was on that board.
I remember we had to replace all the lines out there.
Fort Branch had to spend, look at the city service at that time.
Oh, it was millions to put in a new interceptor line and to help those folks out there, but we had problems out there with, it was just taking on so much groundwater, it couldn't handle the sewage.
Yeah.
Was a problem.
Yeah, well, these septic systems are all located right next to a drainage ditch. And so when you have people up here, if it falls up in your backyard, you're going to fix it, okay? But if you're way over here and these are way down there, you could care less if it's leaking, and if it starts leaching out. I'm talking 5 to 10 years down the road. We're going to have. And it's not suited on this location, in my opinion. Now, a lot of times your mount systems, when you have a double dosing chamber with a mount system, they're pressurized these sand mounds up into a higher elevation. But a lot of these are pumping down into a lower elevation. And I think it spells disaster. I'm seeing long-term maintenance issue here, big time. I don't like it. And the half moon, not the half moon, the hurricane ditch system, it drains into the hurricane ditch. And within 1,000 feet, it goes into the Pigeon Creek system. And both of them spots are on the impaired watershed sites for IDEM. And the Salt Water District has been monitoring them. They have an unusual high phosphorus and nitrate levels even right now. And so I'm a little concerned about this that close to the Hopstock City sewer system is not good. We've got better alternatives than that. I am worried about the water wells there. And so that's my saying on it. I know the Salt Water Conservation District is not in favor of this also. So I think somebody needs to go back to the drawing board on a little bit.
Well, soil, water, and conservation is an extremely important entity in our county.
Yeah.
And I really didn't realize anything about the water wells out there. I didn't realize there were some that close, and I didn't even know the ditch had problems. But we appreciate you coming in and sharing that.
It is an impaired watershed, but and that's not the only stream in Gibson County is an impaired watershed, but it is one of them.
Thank you, Gary.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
Anybody else want to be heard? If so, come to the podium, state your name and your position on the issue.
My name is Gene Houston, and my daughter lives adjacent to these fellows, or where they're gonna put in a subdivision. And he said they had the drainage, they own the drainage all the way down to the, where they're gonna outlet, and they do not. The storm drains, my daughter owns halfway to the center of that ditch. So she's gonna have to negotiate whatever water comes down quicker than it ever did, because it's all these streets and everything else, farmland, water comes off you at a certain speed. If you go putting streets and everything else in there, all the concrete, the houses, the roofs, the gutters, that water's gonna come down there a lot faster. And I don't know what kind of retention ponds they've got in the plan, I haven't seen any of that. There might be pretty good size to hold that amount of water, because I've seen that ditch get full. In fact, I had to go to levee in there to keep it from cutting across the water problem.
Is that right?
So, and another thing, I haven't seen any of their plans. I don't know if what their streets, are they gonna be gravel roads, or what are they gonna put in? Are they gonna put in storm drains that actually they can drain the gutters into? Because everybody, any subdivision, I'm in excavating, and I get more calls because people have no place to put their water. You can't, they always wanna drain something somewhere. There's no place to go with it. Nobody puts in a storm drain. They wait till the last thing, till it's too late. They do everything else. They sell all their houses. And they're thinking about running the water somewhere, giving them a place to go. So, I think there will be a lot more checks on what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, Gene.
My name is Scott Hosmer. I'm basically a neighbor to his daughter. My property would be backing up what they're talking about doing. And I think probably more than anything, I've been raised on a farm my whole life. And probably the more important thing we need to realize is, I don't even know if Ryan is aware of this or not, but when you stand in my front yard and you get 3 or 4 inches of rain, and Gary made a good point of this when I was listening to him talk about this. I've got probably, what would you say, 3.5 foot, probably 4 foot levee to get across my driveway to get to my home.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, with over a 2 foot culvert in it. So when it rains hard, the water goes over that 4 foot levee, over my driveway. And I've seen it back up probably, well, I've got a circle drive out in front of my house. I've literally seen it into the circle drive at the bottom of my driveway. And I've seen it probably, I would guess that's probably 40 feet wide. And there's enough backed up water into the field system that runs into my father-in-law's property that basically if a child fell in there, he'd be drowned. There's no doubt about it. He would drown. It's a 2 foot culvert. And my kids goofing around have thrown balls in there before and had to shoot out the other side, 15, 20 feet. It cuts a hole in my yard out away from the outlet, probably 10 to 15 foot from where it comes out of the pipe. So my thing is with as much water as we've got going through my piece of property and coming off of Melvin Ziliak's and the pole farm and Farley's house and everybody else that drains into this thing. And I've seen water standing in the area that they're gonna build homes. I mean, 3 feet deep. Right. So my biggest thing would be, if I was gonna build a home, it sure wouldn't be in there. And I don't know how you ever put basements in there, because I don't know how you keep them dry enough to even have one. And I don't understand why people want a house where when it rains like that, that all this water is gonna pour down in there. And the other thing is, if it's backing up, and Gary can back up this part of it, if it's backing up, that means it's not getting through down at Pigeon Creek where it goes underneath 41. So there's nothing you can do to change that drainage unless you start working on 41 and getting the water on the other side of the highway. Because what it does is it starts backing up down in there, and then you can't even go across the road from my house where 975 comes in. You can't even drive down that road because it floods. So this whole thing is kind of, to me, I actually would feel sorry for the residents that would build it. Because, I mean, if you're getting into this low area, you got a house in there, and we get a big storm like nobody's seen, what are you gonna have? A yard full of water, and who knows how many houses are placed in those areas, but you sure wouldn't want a septic system in that area. You sure wouldn't want a field test. So what I would suggest is when we have a big rain, 3 or 4 inches in a short amount of time, if you really want to know what we're talking about, drive down there and look, and you'll see real quickly why I would think this is kind of a weird situation to build homes in an area like that. So that's really all I got to say about it, but I've lived there long enough to see it, and it's really something you need to see firsthand for yourself before you go on putting houses in an area like that.
Appreciate your input, and it sounds like you've seen it firsthand.
Many times.
Yeah.
Many times. So, to me, it's not about saying no one houses in there. To me, it's more about what's gonna happen to the houses when you do put them. And being fair with people and knowing what you're doing and setting it up right if you're gonna do something.
And the last thing we want, I think, as commissioners is to, young people come into our county and their first impression is things aren't right. I mean, we want things to be right. And I know some of these young couples, starting out, you have a mortgage, you don't have a lot of extra money. I remember what it was like for my wife and myself, and money's tight when you're starting out. And then if you have to deal with headaches too, sewer headaches or water headaches, then that just magnifies the problem. It just kind of creates an even bigger problem for people. And young people can't handle that. A lot of young people starting out and.
Well, I just think the water is the issue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, the septic systems aren't gonna work because of the water.
I
So
see what you're
unless you can
saying.
reroute the entire water table and change everything around, you've got an awful lot of water to try to figure out what to do with. And the more you pave it, the more you cover it with house roofs and pavement, if you're gonna have to get it out there even faster. And when you can't go anywhere and get on the other side of 41, what are you gonna have? It's gonna be backed up and you're gonna have more water set.
Yeah, because that kind of water too, them field beds that's out there, that sewage is gonna start raising, so it's gonna come above the ground and get in everybody else's yard.
My property's pretty high.
Yeah.
It probably won't do anything to really affect me much. I mean, it might back the ditch up and cause it to come more up into my circle drive and more up towards the road in the front. But, realistically, it's not really as much about me as what's gonna happen to the houses that they put in these low spots when they don't think about what it's gonna do to them. And that would be my biggest concern as commissioners. What are you letting them build and what's it gonna do? And you don't have the acreage there. Obviously, if you put homes on a 1 acre lot and you get too many of them out there, you're gonna have more drainage problems just by every time you add one on. That's a big concern. I mean, to me, the water is the biggest problem they got.
Yeah.
So everybody keeps talking about the sewer and the septic and all that. Well, that's all tied to how you get rid of all this water that's coming off from the rain.
Is there tile in that field?
Yes. But as you know, tile can only handle so much and it's not gonna do anything for a gully washer. And like I said, I've seen water completely come over the top of my levee. So that tells me that there's a whole lot of water going down that area. And I don't think I've ever really seen it over the road there, but
I have.
Okay, I hadn't really ever seen it. I have seen it over the road where the ditch runs through from the north to south piece of property that they're talking about putting houses on, which can get a little bit in there, but as far as up towards the other end, it has.
Mr. Hofstadter, didn't they have to raise 41 down through there a few years back and because of the water?
Well, and yeah, when they did that, it actually made it worse. Because anytime you start taking the water and making it so it can't go across somewhere, you're gonna push it back, and that's all they did there. Of course, it was a dangerous situation because water would come across the highway, so they had to do something with it, but by doing that, all they did is increase the holdback power of it and make it harder for it to drain through.
Okay, I just remember there being some history of water issues there.
It's like I said, it's mainly the water concern that I would be very concerned about.
I can add something to what he's saying. Speak on line here. Well,
Go ahead, Gary.
the misconception, a lot of times, they look for some building sites that are in 100-year floodplain, and I am, and some of the, FEMA, a lot of these floodplains are considered how much floodwater went on Ohio River at some of these backed up flood stages. They don't take into account when you have out these flash floods with out of stream bank flow. I mean, I can take you to thousands of acres in Gibson County, farmland acres, that actually floods 3 hours at a time, you know, and then the creek goes back down. But it's that outer creek bank flow, when you have water flows across the property because everything is full, that's not really in FEMA's network. It's this, so you have to be very knowledgeable of your area, sometimes what's going to happen there. I mean, I live in a floodplain, and it's not considered, I get floodplain, and I'm gonna build a house below me and it's like nothing, you know, I find a lot of it, that it gets underwater 3 foot deep, you know, and there for 3 hours and it's back down. But it's not considered in the floodplain.
But the problem is 3 or 4 hours on top of the septic system, and your septic system is ruined.
Well,
Yeah.
It's not gonna be non-functional until it gets dry back out.
So from a downtown developer looking at, it's not in the floodplain. Says out here on the map, it's not in the floodplain, unless you're familiar with the area.
That's right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
My point. I do know, I remember seeing in the plans, that there was, even with their stormwater system, they had claimed, and I questioned some of it. 43.9 cubic feet per second now, and it'll be 53 cubic feet per second after. After it's developed, that's not stormwater retention. Not in my books. And so I know the stormwater retention, they allow for 3 foot ahead, 3 foot of fluctuation in the state storage, but in their plan, I didn't see anything on there where you just go down to the out of their stormwater retention, what the cubic feet per second actually was. And so I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it. I could have overlooked it, but I'm not saying it.
Thank you.
Go back to the podium if you would, please.
I have one more question. I wondered if they had any, if you ever checked on because the roads built here, I know everybody's seen them. Somebody's got to give when you pass a lot. Somebody's got to slow down speed. Had they checked on getting access to 41? Their property borders 41. There's a driveway there already where it comes in and out of there. Could that be a possibility? Possibly come straight off the highway and you have to change your street system, I don't know, or whatever they're putting in, but it would sure help the traffic, because that's gonna be crazy when you have 40 houses and you know there's only 2 vehicles out of each house. So there's 80 cars that are going in and out of there.
Anyone else that want to be heard on the public hearing? To read into the record our relevant language from the subdivision ordinance. It provides as follows. Following the public hearing, the commissioners may then approve the primary plat, approve subject to conditions, or refer it back to the subdivision review committee for review or study on a specific technical matter, or disapprove it. The commissioners may require such changes or revisions as are deemed necessary in the interest and needs of the community. Approval of a primary plat shall not constitute approval of a final plat. Rather, it shall be deemed an expression of approval to the layout submitted on the primary plat as a guide to the preparation of the final plat, and shall permit the subdivider to proceed with construction of improvements for which designs and specifications shall have been approved by the appropriate agencies. Approval of the primary plat will terminate 2 years after the date of approval unless further extended by the commissioners upon written request of the subdivider. So those are your options.
So Commissioner, what we want to do?
Well, I mean, all very good valid points. And I understand stormwater, but we have no way of governing stormwater at this point in time. Although we've tried, we've not succeeded.
Getting close, so we're getting
So,
real close.
Which this does not fall under because it's already there. I understand about the Hobstadt zoning, but then again, that's not ours. And that's a big thing that's a big step that has to be followed. I understand that. Because I live within the zoning of Princeton. And our health department has signed off on agreeing with the state thing in that. And it's a rock and a hard place. But, and I understand all the concerns. And I understand the concerns of the roads. And the intersection at 41, that isn't ours to deal with because it belongs to the state of Indiana.
Come to those roads, who's gonna have to fix that road?
Oh, no, no, that's ours. No, that's ours,
Except the
yeah.
people that are making the money on the house.
And so, I mean, I can't say I don't, as I stated earlier, I do have some concerns about it. But it has passed the subdivision committee, and it has passed the health department. I'm not sure, exactly how to deal with that because there are some concerns. But also, they've passed everything that the county has put in front of them. As far as what we have control of.
And I can see, I'm sorry, Mayor, were you finished?
Yeah.
I can see them coming in and, using acre lots and, using, everybody has their own septic system, right? I mean, that's kind of what we do here in Gibson County. You take an acre, maybe acre and a half, whatever suits your needs or whatever you have available. And you have your own septic tank and your own fill bed. That's what we're accustomed to in Gibson County. I can see that. I can also see, and as a developer, I can see it being very enticing to seek, city sewer for a variety of reasons, but probably the utmost reason would be a maintenance reason. I mean, you would avoid so much maintenance and so much headache and just makes sense. And that's what a lot of development does. I mean, a lot of developers, they seek out city sewer pretty hard and go out of their way to pursue it. And I understand why. So I can see those two avenues, right? I think those two avenues are reasonable. But to hear our health inspector say that we've never had a cluster system in Gibson County, I can't ever see myself approving one. Because of the headaches, the lack of, the maintenance issues, and it's just not what we do in Gibson County. It's not us. So that's my take on it. There are many good options, but I don't think a cluster, the wording itself, I don't think a cluster is a real good idea. That's just my opinion.
That's my opinion too, because I've never, especially in a lower place that's gonna have a lot of water, it's not gonna work. There's just gonna be too much gray water in one area, and then we get a big 3-inch rain, it's all gonna come to the top. And somebody's gonna be hurting.
Do you know is your client expecting us to take this to a vote this evening, or I don't know what the expectation is at this point, given what you've heard, what you've seen, and what's the expectation from your perspective?
Well, of course, we came to get a vote, but I mean, hearing some of the concerns for the first time tonight, I mean, I think we definitely want to look into a few things if there are major questions out there from the standpoint of the cluster system. Again, that's kind of the path we were led to. And we felt like we addressed it the best we could. We got somebody involved that can handle that can design that can take it through the state and get the approvals. So, we trusted, or we trust, who, took care of that for us. And so, we tried to address every avenue we could from that standpoint. There are some concerns from the standpoint of the floodwaters. And it wouldn't hurt to definitely look at where some of these particular features are that are being described, that are being topped over, just to take a look at them again. But, we did look at the overall drainage area for this site, what's coming to it. It is a substantial amount of water that's actually coming to the property. Whereas, we're having to account for that coming into the site through the site, and then also take care of the detention and retention on our own property so that we are not contributing to something downstream. That we can definitely control that. And like I said, we designed the site from the standpoint of a 50-year completely developed rooftops, driveways, and so forth, with all that impervious in place, a 50-year storm event, and we are outletting less than a 10-year undeveloped, basically the site that's there now in a 10-year undeveloped condition. So, we feel like even though there's not a drainage ordinance in place, we've addressed that. And then from the standpoint of Hopstock, I think we can get clarification on that from the standpoint of, just for your own knowledge, as far as what you're voting on. I think it's a two-tier aspect of it, though, because you have a subdivision control ordinance and we're in the county. So I realize there's a two-mile fringe that potentially affects the site, but that was the first time, through the whole process that we've been through and trying to take care of every concern and everything that's come up along the way. That's the first time that's come up. And I know we deal with it in other locations, but it's the first time here. So we can get some clarification on that. So the next time we know.
Start seeing some zoning issues, and according to that,
Right.
need to be taken care of. So,
Again.
John,
I'd say that was on my list too. Everything I received from the Hopstock zoning administrator in the past, their extraterritorial limit has stopped at the township line. And so that's why, and I'll follow up with them, of course, but we've never been given any indication that that is zoned currently. If it had, from the subdivision review committee standpoint, if it had fallen, they have sent us letters in the past that anything in their jurisdiction, they handle completely, and we've stayed out of. So on minor subdivisions and major subdivisions, if it's in theirs, it starts with them. But of course, I'll follow up with Joe.
yeah.
Commissioners, if I may, you can go on the Hopstock website right now, and there's a map of what they have zoned in the 2-mile radius, and this is very clearly on that. You can look at the ordinance, and with all due respect to the Hopstock zoning administrator, you may not realize it's in there, but it is. And I think at the end of the day, it's not just that; it's the other issues. It is the water,
Oh,
it
yeah.
is the street, it's everything else. And I think these are just things that seem like need to be addressed before you guys vote. And again, why create a big firestorm here when we can address potentially, hopefully, maybe all those issues before you guys get here. So it sounds like from Mr. Spindler, you've got two options. You can deny this and then have them come back and work on a different plan, or you can refer it back to subdivision committee with direction to address the various concerns that were raised here tonight. And I think again, these are very reasonable residents. They're not here with pitchforks. They have very valid, I think, very legitimate concerns. But at the same time, I think getting together and talking with the developer, some of these we might be able to address. I'm not saying all of them, but I'm hopeful. Before you guys, were to.
Sure. And for those that are here tonight, the subdivision review committee, a lot of people tell me they don't know what that is, but that's led by Scott Martin, our county surveyor, Mr. Howe down here, John Howe, and we have Mrs. Beatles on it too, Kim Beatles. But long story short, they're a group that meets together and work for the betterment of the county. And they're supposed to protect citizens from, adverse conditions and things that might not be good in development. And they're also supposed to be a catalyst for responsible development. So that's what that group is. It's a three-member group. And that, as was mentioned, that is an option. We could send it back to them for further review. I know, John, what was your first response to the cluster system? I think you had some kind of notation in there, but honestly, I can't remember.
I mean,
It was something like did you actually give an opinion on it? Did our subdivision review committee give an opinion on cluster sewer systems, or did you not weigh in? I can't remember.
we referred the septic issues to the health department. I mean, in reality, when it comes to the majors, our recommendation is moving it forward based on the fact that they have supplied everything that is required to be supplied per the ordinance. So there is a drainage plan. We don't evaluate that drainage plan. Obviously, you mentioned the lack of stormwater ordinance. We don't evaluate the sanitary plan. We hand it off to the health department, and in this case, they forwarded it to the state. We don't analyze the road plans. We forward that to the county engineer, and so from our standpoint, what we put in the report is that the items that the developer was required to include for the submittal were included. Now it comes to you all to weigh these facts and the comments from the public.
Commissioner, if I could again, I mean, I think this committee approaches it much like the State Department of Health. They're just sort of baseline, check the box.
Yes.
And then it comes to you guys. You guys are making those value judgments. So I understand that you want to rely on other people, and I think Commissioner Kay referenced that. But it's important that this is an issue, like unfortunately many others, you can't just say, well, they approved it, so we can, because all they're doing is making sure the box are checked, and then you guys have to make that decision. And, again, I think there are some pretty important issues that aren't sufficient to just say, well, the box was checked.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's just not, it's incomplete.
I agree. I do agree with that statement.
There's a lot of boxes not checked.
What?
You guys have any questions about the septic or anything? Health department's here. Do you need any questions?
I really don't want to go down that path. I just want to keep it clean and do what we got to do. I mean, I do have questions about things. But this isn't, I'll hold my questions for now.
Well, now, I kind of got the feeling, and maybe I heard it wrong, that you guys are willing to go back and look at some of these water concerns and that, as opposed to moving forward at this moment. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's definitely valid concerns and things that were brought up tonight that I'm hearing for the first time, and we probably all are. So I feel like it's definitely something we can go back and take a look at. From the standpoint of the cluster system itself, I mean, that's something that, we'll have to talk to the owners and developers about as far as what we can do about that. I kind of feel like we've approached that the proper way. We've got somebody involved that knows how to design them, and they went through all the correct processes to get that approval. And I believe everything has been addressed from that standpoint. But whatever comes out of this, I mean, we would definitely have to talk to them as far as what our options would be from that standpoint. But if we had the ability to get across somebody and make a connection to get to the sewer, then I think that's definitely would be an option. It was definitely our first option, but that fell through, and there's not a route. So like I said, we're kind of led to this point, and we're working with what we have on the site to make it the best for what the owners and developers bought the property for. And that was basically to provide housing that, everybody knows there's a housing need in Gibson County.
Oh, yeah.
And they're, being as proactive as they can. I'm sure everybody looks at it as they're just out here to make money, but it needs to be done. I mean, I've heard it from multiple people that housing is a major issue in the county, and they're being proactive. They're from Gibson County. They're here to try to address that.
But if it's not done right, according to you know, the water table, whatever, it's gonna come back on us. It's not gonna come back on Ryan Breck's or, you know, it's gonna come back on the county. So we wanna make sure it's done right the first time.
Well, I mean, obviously you guys have gone to whom you believe are the experts as far as the septic system goes and that. I mean, you know, I've never seen it, but I haven't seen a lot of things. And, you know, maybe it's something, if there is one in Greene County somewhere, maybe we need to talk to somebody in Greene County, or, you know, I'm not exactly sure how we find out where these are.
There's a couple in Du Bois County also.
Are there? So, I mean, you know,
All of put in like a 5-acre community system that they housed a bunch of. I think Du Bois is pretty active in small community cluster systems versus the big pipe system, because it's a far better way to treat your wastewater than going to the sewer plant, because you only get 30% treatment at the sewer plant versus 90 or 100% with the septic system.
so there's a couple in Du Bois County.
Is there a requirement that we get to look at the plots, or that we see how the subdivision's laid out? Yes, that's a question I have. I mean, I don't know these guys. I really don't. I mean, I'm from Hopstock. Everybody assumes everybody knows everybody. I really don't. But my thing is have they as the people that are wanting to put, you know, the developer and Ryan Bricks, have they been out on this road and actually seen what I'm talking about as far as the water goes? I mean, because if they have, I would think that'd be a pretty big concern. Because, I mean, I don't know how the subdivision is laid out. Maybe there's no houses in the low part. But if there is, I mean.
Yeah, so just, so Ron Breck, just to speak directly, I mean, I'm trusting that guy right there. He's an engineer. He does this every day. So to lay this out the way it needs to be done. I mean, literally, that's all he does every day is develop these things. And we've done lots of projects with him. And every one of them has worked perfectly. So yes, I've been out on that road. We've driven out there. We've measured the road width and all this stuff. And we've been working on this project 2.5 years.
Has
We're trying to do everything we can to make sure it meets all the criteria and works perfectly.
Has any of the developments you've had that, you know, shared septic system?
No, we've never done one. Ben brought it up to us for the first time. We would have never pursued it had he not brought it to our attention.
Don't you guys have concerns over I mean, maybe this ain't the right place to talk about.
Sure, that's fine.
Don't you guys have concerns over the fact that what I'm telling you guys goes over my levee in my front yard?
Yeah,
and runs down through there and then backs up?
Absolutely, but he's telling me he's got it.
Yeah, but come on, you can see it. How wouldn't you be concerned about putting a house in that area?
But he said he's got it controlled. And he's the expert.
Wait a minute. He's gonna increase the drainage that we've already got. That's what you're telling me?
No, he's going to decrease.
Gary, what do you think about that? I mean, you can't increase the drainage. What are you gonna do? Go over on the other side and dig a lake on the other side of 41?
We are digging lakes.
On the other side of 41?
No, on our side. That's what we're doing.
Are you fixing it before it gets there? Well, yeah, I mean, at that point, you'd have to do something before it goes to his property, because that's what I guess I'm saying. Look at I know what he's saying, and I agree, there's experts all over the place, but I mean, you guys got to consider what I'm saying here. I can't imagine putting a house on that property in that low corner. There's no way.
If he told me it wasn't gonna work, I wouldn't do it. That's all.
Okay, well, but we'll be interested to see how full the basement gets, or how it comes up.
Well, that's probably fine. We're willing to take that risk, but there should be no issue. I mean, it's been designed by engineers.
Okay, that's.
I mean, the roads and the paths.
I've seen a lot of bridges fell in because the engineers designed it too.
Well, I'm just saying from my.
Not every engineer.
I see a lot of
I guess
experts.
if you could videotape it and see it in action, you'd be like, really? I can't put a house in this spot. How?
To your opinion.
I guess that's what I'm saying. You can look at what you're saying here and make sure you're right, because
I have no opinion, except I think we need to get the bridge back under control. Why?
I'm not saying you shouldn't build any houses. I'm not saying that. I'm saying however you're laying them out, and that's Gene's shaking his head. That's what needs to happen. You guys need to be real with where you're putting them. And it has to happen in a manner that it may take 2 acres for one of them lots back in the corners, so the house can be elevated enough that they actually can get water around the house. I mean, there's a whole lot of things going on that I don't know, unless you stand there and live there every day and see the water coming off that property, that you can actually get a full.
Just because I think we need to have some more conversations. So I don't know if that just means you deny it and they come back and apply later. I mean, you could send it back to the subdivision committee, I guess. It sounds like maybe
Jason, excuse
They've
me.
done
just a
their
minute.
work, right? They're not gonna add
Consider-
anything to it.
yeah,
right?
Under our ability to just table this.
Yeah, I just think.
Or further-
I'm comfortable with that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like Ryan Breck, the development, Southern Hills Development, is willing to look and work around some of these issues and for further study. And if we've got a couple of these things in Du Bois County, and that Du Bois County is close enough to try to find some information, practical information on the cluster, a system in that. So I'll make a motion to table this discussion right now for further study, on both parts, the county's parts and the developer part. Because, I mean, we want development, we need development, and we want it done right. And, I know they don't want to cause problems, and we don't want to cause problems.
Good points. Before I make a vote or even make a motion or anything like that, I wanted to ask you, if you come back to us, are you gonna come back with a cluster system again? That makes, it kind of, whatever you say is gonna probably direct me one way or another, but
And that's something to ask the developers, but that's where we are. That's where we.
Just speaking.
You're like-
We don't have another option.
you're like cluster or nothing, right?
I would love to have sewer. Sewer would be our number one option.
We don't have a choice.
If sewer was possible, that would be our number one desire, to have sewer on the project.
And we've already been through that. There's no need for me to ask if did you call Hofstad or did you call Fort Branch? We've been through that, so.
But we just don't have a route. We can't get to it.
Well, there is an easement technically already to the sewer system. It is listed as a water easement only. That easement would need to be changed to a PUE for it to be happen.
So you tried to dig a sewer line and a water easement to a property that was zoned agriculture and not even zoned residential? We have ethical issues here. We don't have legal issues. We have ethical issues.
We looked at the route to get to the sewer plant. In a planning stage. It's a water easement. So basically, we didn't go out and start digging and laying sewer pipe.
No, because we stopped.
Right now, I'm sorry, I don't know who's who here,
Right.
but anyway,
So
it's a water easement, so we don't have the ability to go into it and say, we're gonna put a sewer line in or an electric line in. It's a water.
But typically, all lines are done in a public utility easement, and water, sewer, and electric are all around the same.
But you didn't check it.
That's fully accurate.
Well, and just to clarify, the town of Hofstad has said, we will grant you sewer, so they're open to development.
Yep.
Is what I'm hearing. So it just seems like that being a half a mile away, give or take, the city's sewer, seems like you'd want to call the town of Hofstad up and get on the agenda and talk to those folks about hooking on to that sewer. It just seems like it's such a practical process and that. Yeah, and town of Hofstad, they've been pretty friendly to development, so.
Yeah, it's not, it's just getting to the point. It's getting there. We can't cross somebody else's property without a proper easement.
But if you're not, okay, so just to clarify, you're gonna come back to us again with a cluster. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's where we are.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready to take a vote on it if that's the case. But Mary does have a motion. Out of respect to Mary, she has a motion on the table.
Well, I don't want to stay. That's not a good thing. And we don't need to be standing here. Basically, we're not yelling, but basically back and forth at each other. That solves nothing. We need to try to see if something can be worked out. And that's why I would like to table it. Maybe we'll find out something about the cluster system. Just because we don't have one in the county doesn't mean they're bad. It's a newer development over however many years they've been out there. And,
Had one Indian Hills though, didn't it?
well, but that's totally different system than what was in Indian Hills. That was a long time ago. And things have developed a lot further along. And that's why I feel like we should table. I don't think we need to say yay or nay at this point, because obviously they're willing to talk and search and discuss. And I think that opportunity needs to be presented.
Can
Yeah, Jason.
I ask you a question?
Mhm.
Do you feel like you've exhausted all properties to get to Hopside? Is that something we could explore, or Fort Branch explore further? Matt, you mentioned the public utility easement. Is there, could you explore that with other property owners perhaps, if this was tabled?
I don't know who else we would talk to. I mean, we've talked with people that are adjacent. They're not, they haven't been interested in doing anything. I mean, the cost to go to Fort Branch would be exorbitant. So I mean, that would be, there's no way that would be feasible. So.
Well, and I may be wrong about this.
We did look
I
at
also heard Fort Branch doesn't have.
Running around the county road and tying in on Hopstop Fort Branch Road. There's issues with the sewer system there, so that's not feasible. Same way with running down 41 and tying in by Tri-State Speedway, issues with the sewer system there, not feasible.
Tell you what I can do. I'll get hold of DuBois County and see if I can just drive up there and check out these that have these systems. I'll find out from the commissioner up there where they're at, and I'll go check them out and see what those people think of it. That'd be the way to do it. I mean, if it's been here any length of time, if they're gonna have trouble, they're gonna have it, so. But I'll do that.
That it was brought up about $300 a year. That's preliminary. So if we decide that it needs to be $600 a year, that's what we'll implement. But I mean, at $300 a year times 40 houses, that's a lot of money over a course of 10 or 15 years to maintain a system.
But still, that $300 is not just for to keep the septic up, it's keep the roads up and everything else up.
Yeah.
Is that not right? When you have the housing HOA, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, but that's $24,000 a year. We've already got somebody that's willing to maintain the system. That's already set up for a certain fee that's way less than the $24,000 a year. So I mean, it's.
Problem we're running into right now is when these HOAs come back to us and we ask them, how much do you have in the kitty? And they're like, we didn't pay into the kitty. I mean, we have them coming to us on a regular basis wanting road help. Good people, and maybe some of them weren't even there at the inception of the subdivision, at the beginning of it. They come to us and they're like, we'd like to have our roads fixed. And so we ask them about their HOA, and they surprise us and say, we don't have any money. I mean, I know that's not your problem, but that's what we're seeing as commissioners is some of these HOAs aren't following through. And so we have to be prepared. We have to be prepared to cover these roads just in case. And in this case, we have to be prepared to cover the roads and the sewers. And a lot of money that we don't have.
When you look at the sewers, you get about trying to make sure they're not in the boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in the surrounding counties that I talked to, none of them had them, but I didn't check with DuBois. I didn't. But they told me they were used mostly or primarily in emergency situations, like where you just had to have it, and here we're half a mile from city sewer. And I mean, we even have there's a lot of options there. I know you guys are talking about going on land, which is what most developers do. You secure a land easement. I mean, I'm sure that's what you do most of the time. I don't know what you offered the landowners out there, but.
Sure, they can put in a lift station and get it into a sewer.
Well, yeah, pressure line.
Sure, it's not going to gravity into it. A lot of places they have lift stations that go into it. So.
Okay, guys.
Plan all along, so we can't get the.
Then again, we're rehashing the same thing over and over and over again. And we've been doing, I didn't look at the clock. I know we've been doing it for a good half an hour or better. We could stay here all night and keep repeating the same thing over and over again. my motion's still on the floor. I still think it's a table because obviously, to me, they've shown good faith in wanting to talk. Does anything come off of it? I don't know. But we're not gonna know, just like we're not gonna know in 5, 10, 20, 30 years, that system would fail. You know, we don't know. But I'm willing to, you know, give them an opportunity to try to work something out, figure something out. And it sounds like they're willing to do it. Just a second, Larry. So, you know, okay, Larry, go.
Seems to me like you got a lot of different issues here. And Ken's got a good point on checking out other places, but basically it boils down to location, location, location. And as gentleman talked half an hour ago, he probably got more knowledge than everybody else in this room as far as drainage put together. And same way with Gene Giesel here. He spent his whole life working with water. And what my concern about is not only the septic, if there's that much of a water issue, if it's not only the septic, but it's the streets and the roads and the seepage and everything, if the water table is bad, I'm just taking the expert word for it. And I know Gary has studied it immensely and he knows what's going on. And that water table ain't right. It's not right for the roads. The roads need to be strengthened and drained. And there's a lot of issues that's going on there. And I don't know if the health department, they probably don't check into the water issue. What they check in is the permeability. And has all the lots been tested? Have sewage been approved in it? I'm very familiar with the store boring and whatnot that takes place in a subdivision and minor subdivisions. And I actually think you guys screwed up on another location. To me, I sure in the heck wouldn't want to spend $30,000 or so for a lot and not have a $300 test to say it's okay to build there. And I'm sure I'm gonna be able to put a septic system in anyway. But I don't know if that's a subject at hand here or not, but it sounds to me like it all boils down to the water table issue. But as far as safety, as far as drainage, as far as water running from the neighbors into that lot and then back out. Has the subdivision ordinance been studied and checked off on the subdivision? Stormwater situation been checked off? There's a lot of issues out there and it all comes back to drainage. I deal with drainage every day and that's the most important thing you can think of is just drainage. And if the water table ain't right, and the septic system, I don't care what you do. It's a drainage issue. Always keep that in mind.
Okay, we've spent another 10 minutes discussing the same thing again.
Well,
I still say let's table it. Let's give them a chance to test and discuss and figure out some of this. And the same thing for us to do on the cluster system.
I'll check that out.
And then we can bring it back.
We have a motion.
I'll go ahead.
Oh,
There's a
please.
motion on the floor, so.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
The ayes have it, 2-1.
I figured I'd check on that up at Du Bois County this week and see what's going on with those up there.
Thing I know I know for a fact these clusters, 10 to 15 years down the road, you're gonna have some trouble.
That's what I want to find out if they're concerned. Yeah.
And the water. And the
Oh,
watershed.
let's move on, guys. I don't want to be here all night.
I don't either.
So we are,
Okay.
Jason, do we need to make some kind of motion or something, get out of the public hearing?
No, we don't.
Oh,
But,
okay.
But just let the record reflect that the public hearing was previously closed.
Which one?
The guy from Rhinebeck.
I can't, he's with Cash Wagner. I can't remember his name.
He's an engineer.
He's an engineer.
Cash Wagner.
Okay. I think we're Peabody Bowl.
Supposed to remember.
You're welcome.
Did you need us for anything, Di? Okay.
It wasn't on here to ask departments, so I didn't ask.
No. Second meeting, we don't normally unless they have something.
No, I don't.
Okay.
The only thing I can tell you is I did run the numbers tonight before I came to the meeting. And up until this month, our average per day, the highest was like 35. And we're at 80. All that, okay. I think it was 86.1 for the month of January. New cases per day. So I really think public to be thoughtful if you're sick. It's 86.8 new cases that we're having.
Per day.
Of COVID, new COVID cases, 86.8 cases per day.
And some of these cases are not, they're vaccinated people, they're people that have had COVID and I have it again. And so, I mean, I think people need to remember, yes, if you're vaccinated, it makes your odds a whole lot better of not getting super sick, but you can still get sick. So, you know.
I've got a granddaughter that's had COVID twice and she's had her vaccines.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh, I know a number of people.
And, you know,
Yeah.
if you can wear a mask.
I know.
You know, it works some. Obviously, if you're gonna do anything, do it now. We're in crisis mode, so I'm just asking the community, do whatever you can to help slow this down, because we're the whole state of Indiana, right? There's not one yellow county in the whole state. So we're in a mess with all this COVID.
Yeah.
And the schools are calling me, you know, they're at the levels where they're gonna have to go virtual again. We don't get things slowed down, so I'm just asking people, you know, if you're sick, stay home. You know, do your quarantine, just because they said the 5 days, and they stressed that with the State Department of Health today, is that 5 and 5 didn't mean, okay, 5 days, let's just go out. That means after that 5th day, if you're better and you're able to keep a mask on, then you can go to work and wear that mask the entire time. However, you know, a business can opt to go ahead and let them stay out for 10 days, you know, depending on the need.
Right. Well, and if you're still showing a system, obviously you've not been
Right.
long enough. And
Yeah, when I talked to Dr. Brick about this morning, he said that for the health department, we will continue to use the 10-day quarantine for our positive.
Well, what makes it bad,
Isolation.
this time of year, everybody gets a cold or sinus. Like me, I've got a sinus thing draining my throat, but, and then everybody looks at you, like Mary moved over when I coughed there a while ago. I thought,
you're
what
coughing hard, boy.
That's just kind of the.
Why take a chance?
But,
Well,
you know,
I'm using that.
you know, everyone's vaccinated. We are out of rapid tests again. We cannot get any more. We are doing PCRs. We're averaging about 16 tests per day. But unfortunately, with the health department, we have to send them off to a lab.
Yeah,
So we're
well,
looking at least at 2 to 3 days.
Most places, even if they're quick response, which you guys have had pretty good quick response, it's usually no less than 24 and usually 48 or 8 or better. before you get those tests back. So just because you've gotten a test, don't say, oh, I got a test. Well, you don't know the results, so just stay away.
The biggest thing is, you know,
Use common sense and.
definitely if you're sick, wear a mask. You know, when you're out. But preferably,
I've
don't
had them all
go out.
day.
Right,
If you're sick, so that's all.
yeah. Okay, thanks, Di.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's get on the agenda.
Yeah, okay. Is anybody here from the Peabody Coal?
I don't think so, because we said we'd bring
Yeah,
it back,
I mean-
and Matt has already said that.
At their,
you know,
at our last
everybody was
meeting,
good.
they agreed to everything, and everything was
Right.
fine, so.
Right.
So-
We're gonna make the 950 permanent,
Mhm,
which
yeah.
is, I think, a plus.
Yeah, well, I mean, it gives us 2 roads instead of 1
Right.
Yeah,
at the end.
It's
So,
gonna make things safer for the community over there, don't you?
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
we'll be for the teepees anyway.
So, I mean, I'll
Hearing a lot of comments, but it is what it is.
I'll make a motion to agree
I'll second that.
that we approve this agreement.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. You have a copy of that for us to sign, Jason? Okay.
Okay, next, the Teamsters contract agreement.
Mr. President, when given an opportunity, I'd like to.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask something too, but now a good time, Kenny.
Yeah.
I'm just looking around. Is Council President Overton here tonight? Is he here? Council President Overton? I thought he might be here. From the newspaper, it appears he's really interested in working with the commissioners, but it appears he's not here tonight. Does anyone know why he's not here tonight? Anyone know why he's not here tonight?
Because he's Jerry Overton.
Well,
For the record, that was not me. Okay.
Well,
Also, let me finish if you would.
No, that's
Ken,
fine.
okay, thank you, Kenny. Kenny, have you been going to the county council meetings?
I've gone to quite a few, I didn't go to the last one.
So you've been to quite a few, haven't you? Okay. So commissioners are going to the county. I mean, I work during the day, but God bless Kenny, he's going to the county council meetings and taking an interest in it, and glad he's able to. Something I want to point out, and this recently came up in the newspaper. Kenny was delegated to the union contract. Okay, Kenny Montgomery was delegated to the union contract. And I know Mary has projects and I have projects. None of us sit back and let one guy do it all. We're all busy on different things, different boards. And I think we work hard for the county and do our part. And, but my point is, if Council President Overton wants to work with the commissioners, he should be here tonight. He should be here tonight, working with us and talking to us and working things out. And I don't know that I've ever seen him at a meeting. I mean, I've only been a commissioner for 1 year, but I don't know that I've seen him at a meeting yet. I hope he does make it here. I think that'd be really good. And, but my last point I'm going to make, Kenny, and then I'll quit. I'll quit. But Mr. Overton wants to run to the newspaper and spread false quotes. And it's just amazing he's not here tonight, is my point. It's just amazing he's not here tonight to work with the commissioners like he says he wants to. And that's my point. And I believe our attorney, Mr. Spindler, has already set up some talks to bring the commissioners and the county council together. I think we're doing our part, fellow commissioners. If any of you think we're not, this would be a good time to tell me, but I think we're doing all we can to bring people together. That's all I'm gonna say. Nobody knows where he's at. I don't either.
Go ahead, Jason.
I will report that Council President Overton messaged me just moments ago indicating that he was tested this morning for COVID and he does not have the results back yet. So I'm relaying that to the commissioners. I have been talking with the council, understanding their position, their collective position, and have suggested in front of this body previously and to some of the union guys that I think we should attempt to resolve this either through a less formal process like a settlement conference or a more formal process, including a mediator. I have reached out to some of my resources for recommendations of a mediator, considering this subject area is somewhat, I'd say not many mediators have involvement in this type of situation involving both labor law and governmental law. So I got some names of mediators. We've reached out to those mediators to check on availability. One mediator that came highly recommended was a gentleman by the name of John Van Winkle. Mr. Van Winkle would be available for mediation on January the 21st or 26th. If we were to do so, and I think his preference is Zoom. I can't remember if he said he'd be available in person, but he certainly indicated Zoom would be a preference and maybe the only option. So it would be my recommendation that we give this an effort at resolving the dispute or resolving the issue with a mediator in which mediation session in which council is present, commissioners are present, union leadership is present, and auditor's office is present with their concerns. So that's what I would ask the commissioners to entertain doing this evening.
Well, we need to come with an agreement, because it's not going to do us any good if we're going to sit and fight. This has happened year in, year out. Yes, we're responsible for contracts, but the council is responsible for money handling. And then the auditor's office is kind of stuck in the middle. They're the ones that have to do according to what they have been told. And
But you can carry the load.
let's try and make this as peaceful and as organized as we possibly can. So
Well, what gets me about the whole thing, I sit on everybody's, their wage, when we went through wages. And everybody asked Overton something, well, that's gonna be up to him to point me, he does the negotiation. And when I did negotiate, he wants in on it. The council has never done that before, went in on negotiation. And I say the heck with it.
I'm not quite sure about that.
And the thing I wanted to point out to the media or the press is, he keeps naming Fleetwood this, Fleetwood that in the newspaper. And honestly, we all have our own commitments, and Kenny is working on the union contract. I haven't been in there. I'll be the first to tell you, I haven't been in there negotiating it or working on that. And it's, Fleetwood said this, Fleetwood said that. I'm like, I'm not even that important. Why are you quoting me? I mean, you know what I mean? There's no need for that. Yeah. I'm not a part of what you're talking about. I'm not a part of that negotiation. And so I just want to set things straight. He wants to work with the commissioners. I guess tonight he has a little touch of something, and I hope he's well. I don't wish him ill. But let's don't play politics. Let's just be honest. Quit quoting people, and let's be honest. And maybe come to a couple of our meetings when you're feeling better. That's all I'm saying.
Well,
and Mary's right. Keep it clean.
Yeah,
Keep it clean.
Let's work this out. It's not going to do us any good to stand here and blow at each other again on this.
Don't play politics.
Yes, I've been in Michael's spot the auditor's office being caught between the council and the commissioners.
Yeah.
And, the contract and that. Let's get it worked out.
That's
so we
right.
can get it signed and we can move on. And so I'll make a motion that we follow Jason's suggestion of a mediator to come to a conclusion of this. Is it my favorite thing to do? No, not in any way, shape, or form. I would hope we could do it ourselves, but we don't seem to be getting anywhere.
I got one question, if I may. Who pays for the mediator?
It would be the
Or
commissioners.
both parties?
It would be the commissioners.
Why can't both parties pay? They're both just giving their thing. Why does-
Well,
It's basically one and the same.
It's one and the same.
I was gonna say.
It comes out of the, it
That's fine.
comes
It's
out
all
of the same budget.
thing, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Okay.
it's all the same thing. I mean, I don't want to spend the money for it,
Yeah. I
but
understand. That's-
let's,
that's the big-
let's just work this out. Let's get it worked out. We've talked about it in the past that we need to work together and we never quite seem to get it there. And this is one way. Okay, if this is a step we have to take to get that in motion for now and for the future, let's do it. So I make the motion that we do that.
And do we have to?
Motion been made, any second?
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
There's one step.
Yeah.
My name's Rick Boyles. I'm the business agent for the Teamsters. We represent the county for over 20 years, most of them. Historically, we negotiated with commissioners. Commissioners were the ones that negotiated contracts. We did the same thing this time. We negotiated with Kenny in good faith. Kenny, to make sure that we agree, make sure that the majority of the commission comes back and tells us. We will check with the auditor. Make sure it was okay with the auditor. He did everything he was supposed to do. We negotiated good faith. Return, as you overwhelmed. Now all of a sudden, we got the council coming in, trying to change things. I understand that you reported to him that you contacted me in August, never heard anything else. Well, when you contacted me, I said, and when Kenny needs you, go call him. That's what I told you. That's in August. We didn't negotiate till then.
I remember, it was real late.
It was late. There were some other issues with some other departments, mainly the ambulance service. And we were gonna put that on hold and get these done because we thought this would go. And it did go fine. Now, all of a sudden, after we negotiated good faith, which we always have with the county, now all of a sudden it's a problem. Don't understand.
I want to clarify something for you, Rick. I saw a copy of the changes in the contract the morning after the highway department voted.
And Mary,
And I didn't see the one, basically the courthouse. I didn't see that till the next morning after they voted.
well,
So I mean, I'm saying that I agree because I don't agree on all of it.
Sure.
And I didn't. And then I had some people say, well, you guys voted on it. I said, no, we haven't voted on it.
no, and you have it. That's why we're here today.
Right.
But in fairness, I was dealing with the person that you
That's-
guys
well-
designated to negotiate with. And that's what I've done historically.
Yes.
Whether whoever.
I don't disagree
Okay.
with you there.
So as far as how you were informed, I have no idea.
Right.
But I do know that I was told that the majority of the commissioners was okay with this. That's why I voted. If the majority of the commissioners was not okay with it, I wouldn't. And by the way, with the money situation, we approved what the council approved. Council said, everybody's gonna get 50 cents. That's what they said, and that's what we approved. We didn't argue with Kenny one time about the money because that's what the council approved. That's their role. Your all's role is benefits and the contract negotiations, and that's what you did. And we negotiated, like I said, we negotiated in good faith. That's why we're here today. I don't want problems. I've been, like I said, I've been here for over 20 years. We've had problems 1 year, and we all know what that's like. And I don't think anybody would say anymore. That's it. So I would ask you to approve the contract that I was told, and I told my members that it was okay with the commissioners, that we ratified. That's what I would ask you guys to do today.
Well, I know I worked for the highway department for 36 years. And council never got involved in that unless there was money involved in it, a raise. And not with this wording. So.
No, sir. No, sir. So that's what I would ask, guys.
I also have a problem. We don't have every contract. We don't have contract for EMS. We have no wording for EMS.
Because I haven't negotiated.
Well, I know, but I'm not willing to pass on anything. The commissioners always pass the contract on everything at one time.
No, that's not true either. No, that's not
Oh,
true either.
well, to my knowledge, it has been.
Well, that's.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, I haven't been here for 20 years either. Almost, but not at this one. Yeah.
I get it. But that's what we got. We got these two. There's other issues with the ambulance service. I don't think now.
Right.
Get into all this.
No,
That's
it's
why
not.
it's not here.
But that's one
That's what I'm
reason.
asking.
Well,
Council wanted to get involved in it anyway.
money. They control the money.
That's right.
We do not control the money.
No.
Well, to your point, sir, but to your point, we agreed with what the council said. We agreed with that.
On wages.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
So I agree with you there. On wages, you did agree with them.
So these mediators gonna cost, right?
I've never had.
And how many times is it gonna happen? How much are we gonna spend over something that's not needing to be spent? That's my whole point of the whole situation is we spend too much money on sometimes things, and I'm not gonna stop here for a second, because sometimes we spend money on things that they don't need to spend on. And when that gets to that point, I've got something to say. And I think that's a bunch of nonsense to spend money on a mediator. It's not a divorce. You're not dividing property. If you was dividing property and fighting over children, I could see a mediator. If this has always been done this way, and we hired we voted Ken Montgomery in and trust him as a public servant, that we need to be listening to the people we put in office, not a bunch of bureaucrats. And that's all I got to say.
And
Well, okay, go ahead, Bob.
if the council approved the 50-cent raise, they need a vote tonight.
There are other financially binding issues in the contract, potential unfunded monies in the contract.
What?
Comp days.
Gotta use it or lose it. It's not in front of.
That's not how it's written in what I read.
Well, then you're not reading it correctly. Use it or lose it. So it's not an unfunded liability.
It ain't gonna be like it was with Jerry Helt whenever he retired. And he got $6,000.
Several years, we had a lot of problems. Okay, that's not how I'm reading it, so I would not vote on it until I'm clarified on what it says.
Well, it's fine. Then let's clarify it like we did the other situation with the thing and get a vote coming instead of getting a mediator, going and spending a bunch of money.
Hey, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to do it as an executive session. And I've said that in the past.
And that's good. That's maybe.
I'm willing to do that in a joint session.
Meeting, so everybody knows. That comes time, it's use it or lose it.
Right, and it's time off. You can't turn down an overtime pay and you get paid for it again.
No.
It's just time off.
That's what it means.
Oh, well.
As Mr. Spiller saying, he thinks we could take an executive session.
But I would,
I'll take my motion on to do it.
my recommendation would be executive session with a mediator.
Not that I've ever seen.
Are you willing to just clarify, instead of going to a mediator to get this straightened out so we don't have to go that route? Wording problems, you know what I'm getting at?
You just did.
You guys started, I know, but what I'm saying is if we get a mediator, we're in trouble. Because it's just gonna turn into an argument, it's gonna draw out, you're gonna spend more time on it.
Just like I said.
Right, yes. I don't agree with the mediator. I agree.
Never.
Ever. It's only gonna cause a problem if we have a mediator. That's just my opinion. You're gonna get more, one guy and this and this and that.
No, it'll be all right now. No, it won't. You leave me alone. Have a heart attack right here.
Well, that's what it,
Mary.
All right.
yes, yes.
Oh, you talking about, condos.
Executive session. Joint
Rodney told me, he
executive
said he had like 600, 700 pump hours, never used them. Then,
Well, see, now, I mean, the way it's written up, if you don't use your comp time the year you got it, you lost it.
Correct.
So,
And the way I understand it.
just like your personal days, use them or lose them.
rolling them over, remember?
Any kind, because that was put in the paper
Now,
too.
there's sick time, you can do that.
Right.
It'll build
Oh,
up.
yeah, well, that's.
All right, let me interrupt.
Yeah.
One person at a time. He's got to take minutes from this meeting and it's going to be a nightmare if we don't know who's talking. And we-
I think Chrissy. Oh, believe you me, I know
Blood
where you're
pressure
coming
pills on
from.
you?
I've already taken mine. I took them all.
Rick, would you clarify that about the comp time, please?
Joint
Once it
executive
is
session.
established.
I'm not gonna meet with them.
It's gonna
Okay,
take.
I will
that's
not.
fine. Oh, that's fine.
Once that's been established, that's what it is. Okay, so let's just say I've accumulated 25 hours. Okay, and we get towards the end of the year and I don't use it. I can't say, okay, I've got 25 hours of comp time. I need the county to pay me for that.
Don't work.
What I'm saying and what we're saying is, if we don't use that 25 hours by December 31st, we lose it.
Mhm.
That is what we threw out to the county because the guys at the highway department, they like comp time. But we also knew the unfunded liability that we dealt with several years ago, that we didn't want to get into that again. So our suggestion was use it or lose it.
Mhm.
We thought that was fair.
Seemed fair to
It's
me.
not unfunded liability.
Nope.
And it's up to us to use our comp time or not. If we don't use it, shame on us. Pretty sure we're gonna use it, just to make that clear. Pretty sure we're gonna use it. But if we don't, we lose it.
And I understand too. Okay, so Rick, you're going to help me out on this, but I spent this last weekend reading for at least 2 or 3 hours on some of the laws and stuff pertaining to the public sector, because the public sector, all their laws are different than the private sector.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm reading after about hour 3 and reading this stuff, trying to, figure it all out. There was something in there where, like a supervisor or department head could stipulate, this is lawful, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong on my interpretation, but it's lawful for a supervisor to intercede and say, we can't be using that comp time, boys, because we got a blizzard coming, that kind of thing.
Right.
Am I right, Rick? Well, that's at least one time a day. Thanks, Rick.
Well, and to that same, because I was gonna kind of get on that part too. If you, let's say we have 15 guys. And by the end of the year, they've accumulated 4 weeks of each of comp time. And they all say in December, by the end of November, I'm not working in the month of December.
Well, you have the right to run your business, okay? And the superintendent, which is Brand, he can determine how many people can be off. I think the contract says something, how many, the minimum amount of people can be off. You have to be able to run your business. That being said, blizzard or something like
Right.
that, the guys at the highway department, they come in.
Oh, no,
They come in.
I don't have a problem with that. I just won't ever see us in the park and putting Brant under the bus too. Of saying, okay, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Nobody else can. You lose your time.
And not trying to speak for Rick, when that happens, so it strictly goes by seniority.
Yes.
Okay.
Because of the protocol in the contract, seniority prevails and everything. So if I have X amount of guys with X amount of comp time, and it comes down to.
And they know ahead of time,
my
I'm low man
determination.
on the totem pole, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah, it's my determination of when they come to me and say, "Hey, it has to go by team."
And always about October, the secretary out there lets everybody know what kind of time they got left at the end of the year. And lets them know they've got to start using it before the end of the year, or they're gonna lose it. You know, it gives them 3 months there to get their time used up.
I still would like to have it joint before I vote on the contract, and I'm not saying I'm against it.
What if-
I just have some questions such as this that I would like cleared up before, I vote on it, and I have, and no, I haven't talked to you, Rick. I'll admit it right up front. I have not talked to you.
That's okay, that's okay. Like I said before, is historically, I've negotiated with whoever the commission decided was gonna be the negotiator. That's what I've done.
Oh, yeah,
And
I
did it
agree.
this time, and historically, the commissioner that was in charge or did done the negotiation told me the commission, but the majority of the commissioners do this. That's why I moved forward to vote.
Mhm.
So for us now, to all of a sudden say, well, since the council's got some issues, that we need to do this mediation, which we've never done, and then possibly want to change some things, then what that does is basically have to revoke the contract again. Because even if I wanted to, I can't just change it.
Right.
Because I took it to my members. Members are happy. But, and what the commission did isn't anything off the charts. That's just it. It's just, it's not.
Well, and like I said before, Rick, my problem is you may have been told the majority, and maybe both Kenny and, I know Kenny knew, and maybe Warren knew, and they said, yeah, we're fine with it. I didn't know.
I haven't seen it till
So,
here recently,
and
but
I've
that's beside the
never,
point.
unfortunately, you have 3 freshmen on this negotiation this
okay.
year.
It's okay.
But from what I've understood, they've negotiated, and the other commission, it was discussed, with the other commissioners, and yeah, we have a problem. No, we don't have a problem. And I think the lateness of the negotiations didn't help any. And so, I mean, I don't have a problem with the 50, the raise, and yes, the council did give that. So, like I said, I'm just trying to finally say, okay, guys, I've heard this gone before. Let's get it settled. Let's get this group where we need to have it.
I agree.
And let's get these guys their contract.
I appreciate y'all doing it tonight.
And is there any truth at all in what Council President Overton's saying, that this would cost the county any extra monetarily?
Don't pay somebody to come in and do my work. If I take off, I gotta come in and hurry and get it all done. Same way with anybody else that works for the county.
Well, then I disagree with him in saying it's gonna cost the county extra dollars.
If it,
I mean, that's just
brought about more money, then they would have an argument about it.
Well, and this is where I think we need to get some of this stuff straightened out, because like I pointed out tonight, I did not understand how the comp time, that's not how I read it. I read it wrong, fine, I read it wrong, and I'll admit I read it wrong. But I'll reread it again, just to make sure that I still think
Right. Mr. Watkins, do you have any questions about that comp time? I know that was
I come from the private sector into this, so it may be totally different, but I know where I came from. If you had overtime, and like if I let one of my employees comp it, I had to do that within the time limit of, the pay period. I had to let them take that time within the time period. But if I didn't, they had to get paid because that was actual time worked. And that was per the Department of Labor. So if they work that overtime and they don't get paid for it, are we going to be in trouble with the Department of Labor with that? Okay. That was my concern with that part, to understand that, because it's different.
Let me make this clear. I'm not a big comp time guy.
Mhm.
These guys all know I'm not. I want money. That's me. But it's important to the people that I represent, so I don't care. That part I don't care.
I knew what is important to the county as far as the unfunded liability. So that's why we did what we did. So there is no unfunded liability. And again, I really would appreciate if, when we were told we have a tenant agreement, we voted on it, that you guys would ratify it this evening. I would greatly appreciate that, because I'm like you all. Let's quit this politics. Let's quit that. And you don't see me coming up here ranting and raving. You just don't. We fix things. Always have. Always will. Try anyways. That's what I ask for you.
Mr. Watkins, do you feel better about the comp time now?
Yeah, I just, because I didn't understand whether we could do that for sure, because I didn't want to cheat them out of it, because by law on the private side, they have to get paid for it.
Gotcha.
So that's why, but apparently on the public side, under a contract, we can do this. So I just wanted to verify that to make sure that we were going to be okay with it. So I'm trying to transform from private to public. So.
Do you have any questions or concerns about it at this point, or?
It's going to be record keeping issues on our end of it, and we can work around that, hopefully with our new system that we get.
You told me that before, like after the last council meeting, I had you come in the office. Our secretary always does that. I didn't even know they turned it into you guys. Comp time and stuff
Well,
like
we
that.
have to know the hours worked. We also have to watch to make sure that we're banking that money under the overtime.
Right.
So that we don't go over on the regular time.
Right.
So we have that money sitting out there to pay them when they do go, or when they do take their comp time, because that would go under the overtime part of it. So that's where we're gonna have to juggle around with. And is this gonna be all across the board, or is it just for highway?
Just the highway, the
Just
comp
the
time
highway.
stuff, yes.
Okay.
Because nobody else, other than EMTs, don't really get much overtime, you know.
Christie.
Well, it's because you make her.
Okay, yeah, you don't count either. You and Chrissy don't count.
No, anyway, that's
John.
that's where we're going to
John doesn't get overtime.
have issue trying to keep track of that.
You know, it's not like all 37 employees are gonna be taking.
Oh, right,
Oh, yeah, well, I know that.
right. But we have to keep.
So,
4 weeks, times a year.
It'll never happen.
no, I realize that. And, you know, just thinking in worst case scenario. Okay, let's decide here. Let's just let's here.
I think we ought to go to the executive session. Because also I know that it is the council's threatening to take their 50-cent raise.
Yeah.
If we act.
Yeah, we don't listen to federal laws and.
Oh, just.
We had state board of council here today, so I don't care.
Your fingers were crossed, right, Kenny?
I don't care. What are you gonna do, fire me?
You can't get fired.
Huh?
You can't get,
Well, darn it.
now,
You get a promotion.
unless you, well, we won't go into that part.
That's what.
Oh, I
Larry?
did. Listen,
It sounds to me like it's just communication. It sounds like the start of it, everybody's in agreement except the commissioners and the council are communicating. Instead of paying for a mediator, why don't you get?
I said, let's go to
Let's
a joint executive session
For the jail meeting.
and
Have a joint meeting.
let's get it worked out and go.
And we may end up back here, Rick, with the same situation, but I think in good faith,
We need to talk.
I think in good faith, we talked to them one last time, explained to them that this comp time's not gonna cost a red cent. And just like educate, I think we just need to talk to them, explain to them that,
Don't explain to him, because I won't be there.
That's fine.
I will not.
That's your choice. That's fine.
This is what I think.
I don't have a problem.
Talking about good faith, I get that. we feel like that we did negotiate in good faith. We feel like that when the commissioners appointed Kenny to do this, he negotiated in good faith. My members, they voted because they figured that this is what the commissioners was campaigning with. And I think at one point, you guys were, maybe not you, Mary, maybe not you. So I'm, you know, you guys gotta do what you gotta do, I get it. But that puts a bad taste in our mouth when we, you know, try to negotiate and do it. We thought
And I don't disagree with you on that, Rick. Because I have known you in the past. And, you know, I've never known you, you know, to do anything. Yeah, well, up front. So, but let's just make that, let's just get.
No, not hardly.
So, Rick, appreciate your time. Well presented. There's a motion before the commissioners. I think they're in a position to proceed. Just to clarify, the raise has not been given, right? It's been budgeted for. You haven't seen it in your paychecks. So it's not been given. That's where them controlling the purse strings come in. And other aspects as well. I mean, they could do more than not give a raise. So I think it is prudent. These commissioners are in charge. They can do what they want, but I think it's prudent that we give this a shot at a resolution satisfactory to both governing bodies, the fiscal body and this legislative body.
The thing of it is, well, look at this. Anytime we do negotiations, that means they're gonna be in on it too. Even if it don't pertain to money, we gotta have the council in on it. Bull crap.
No, you don't have to do that. And you guys should be involved in the money and all that.
It don't work that way.
By state of Indiana code, that does not work that way.
And may I state for the record that there's more than one council member, and only one ain't.
Oh, no, I agree.
There's more than one council member too, and there's one that you're saying wasn't here. Where's the rest of them? Doesn't matter, any can speak up at any time. They can come to this meeting. If they had a problem with what y'all was doing, one of them would be here right now, speaking up.
Great buyers. Hey, a minute, guys.
It's in the paper. The commissioners negotiate language, the contract. Council, money. Right?
That's correct.
That's what he told me.
I
don't know.
What the big deal is, if the council has done approved the raise, and Kenny went and negotiated with them, and everybody agreed, and they've done, his members has done voted on it, because he negotiated with Kenny in good faith, and his members had voted on it. What is the problem here? Vote on the damn contract and get on with it, and so we'll go home. Call for a vote, Kenny.
The response that you asked, the response is you don't get 50 cents on the IRAs. Maybe you're thinking, so what, $20 a week? What if they reduce your pay? What if they make you pay more for your health insurance
That's not
coverage?
their call.
Yeah.
That's not their call.
Well, they're paying the.
It's not their call what we pay for our insurance. It's the commissioner's call.
And if they've done agreed on the raise, they have no argument about the contract.
They have not voted on the raise.
So they lied to us when we went to Kenny.
They lied to,
So
you lied to
they said
Kenny.
50-cent raise.
They budgeted a 50.
Well, everybody's 50 cents, didn't they?
Well, they budgeted it and they approved it.
And they're supposed, by law, they're supposed to do it at the same time.
And honestly, Rick, my hesitation is I don't want the guys to lose that 50 cent raise.
I'm speaking for my guys.
And, I mean, that's what concerns me. I don't want to see them lose it.
I'm speaking for my guys. My guys have told me they're okay. They're okay. Now, if this is what the council wants to do, is take the 50 cents away from them because they didn't have a say in this contract negotiations, that's pretty petty. And another question I have is, are they giving non-union members the raise? Because the non-union members are getting these benefits also.
Right.
So is it not you people getting a raise and the union people not? Is that the game that they're playing with us?
Yeah.
I don't know, because they haven't talked to us.
Some of them are. Some of them are.
So obviously they haven't talked to you all.
That's not right.
In lies to just quote you.
Yeah, that's not right if they're doing that.
Warren, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, they budgeted 50 cents and they decide, which they did when we signed the last contract, we're just not gonna pay, we renege. Okay, so what happens to that 50 cents that they've already budgeted for? Where's it go?
Stays in county general.
Does what?
Stays in county general.
Rainy day
It
fund,
Stays in the county bank.
right?
And then.
Rainy day
Is
fund.
that
They bank it.
wages later down the road? I thought the state senator said that money that's sent out from the state has been appropriated for wages, needs to be used for wages.
And in fairness, they can let Ben salary ordinance and put 5 votes to 7. They can do that. Maybe they will.
Yeah, and they do have that right.
5 votes, not 4. Maybe they will. That's pretty petty,
Mhm.
I have no idea.
which is basically it's punishing the county's employees that are probably gonna be plowing your roads here in a couple days.
Maybe.
No, nothing against the plowers, but I hope you're not busy.
So I mean, that's just
Yeah.
it, that's just it. It appears to us that this negotiation right here is, we're, don't take it on the same wrong, we're kind of caught in the middle.
Mhm.
That's not fair to your employees.
No.
That's not fair to your employees.
I fought and argued with them when I was on the council for 4 years. Not the same. And I was outnumbered, so I didn't win. And now here it's coming up again. And these guys, like I said, Kenny went and negotiated in good faith. Because he thought the council has already authorized a 50-cent raise.
Mhm.
It should be over. Oh, you guys should ratify this with no problem whatsoever. I don't understand your thinking. I truly do not understand your thinking. And I've been around this county for several years.
This is on video.
We play a little golf too.
My only thinking is we may end up here having the same conversation. And that is possible. But my only thinking was, if we were to have an executive session with them, it wouldn't cost the county a dime. It's one last chance to say, here's an olive branch. What are your thoughts? What are you saying? It gives us a chance that way, that way that no one can accuse us of not going out of our way to communicate and work on this matter.
And be physical.
And then we may come back to the very next meeting and have to take action, one way or the other, but that's just my thinking, is that,
So I'm sorry.
I'm not saying it's right all the time, but that's my thinking. And you may be right, Cecil.
Because as long as I've been around this county, the council and the commissioners cannot get along. They will not get along, period.
Shouldn't be that way.
No, it shouldn't be.
It should be.
It's always been that way.
Let's see. You do what you want, commissioners, but I say, let's see.
I still have my motion on the floor.
Everybody's your opinions, obviously ours is, we negotiated in good faith with you all.
Yeah, I understand that.
Okay,
I-
we got a motion made. Is in a second?
We have a second.
And I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
I heard 1 aye and 1 yes.
You have a vote.
He said, yeah,
I said aye.
yeah.
So it was 2-1.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's very disappointing, Commissioner. It is what it is. So let me ask you guys this, then. What is our next plan of action?
We're gonna get something coordinated and you'll be invited to the settlement negotiation.
There's no settlement. this is the contract that we negotiated. I was under the impression you guys were gonna talk to the council and explain to them what you negotiated. That's what I was under the impression. Again, changing anything in this, I gotta revote it with my.
Totally understand, totally understand that.
That is not fair. That is not fair at all.
I totally understand that, and I've mentioned that.
Appreciate that. So, I'm not telling you that I will not meet, because I'll meet anytime, anywhere, if my schedule allows. I'm not telling you I won't meet. But like I said, this is what we negotiated at the beginning of this.
I don't think you're gonna change the council mind because 5 of them voted not to give us the raise.
Yeah.
So it's not gonna change.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank y'all.
Rick, I hope you do go to that because I won't be there to back him up. Because I'm not gonna go talk to them. I will not talk to them because they don't have the right to ask for anything.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you.
Just
You know.
chaps my cookies.
Well, I don't want your. Yes.
Huh? I ain't gonna. Unless I bring a bigger gun than I've got on my pocket now.
No. Okay.
All right, what's
So we
next?
can get through with this.
Independent contract agreement for,
Purpose.
is Debbie on there yet?
No longer.
I bet she's asleep now.
She was communicating with me.
Okay.
Okay.
And I told her that she could disconnect. She had another meeting. I have approved the contract that has been circulated. And that is for an amount of $2,500 per month for this first phase. I would, and I've talked with the members of the American Rescue, whatever ARPA stands for. I've talked with all of the members independently on that entity. They are in agreement with forwarding on to the commissioner's approval of her contract. So I'd ask for that approval tonight.
I'll make a motion to approve Debbie for the position.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Amen.
So, amen.
Because Mike doesn't want to have to do it all.
I bet
Don't blame you.
Mary's ready. Oh, we're gonna make a motion to recess.
Come on, Mary. Yeah, we need a 15-20 minute recess. Come on up, Mary.
Play and recess.
Okay, we need to vote to recess.
I make a motion, or I ask for a motion to.
Motion to recess to go into the finance committee meeting.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay, we're recessed.
Okay. I'm Mary Ann O'Neill, and I am Gibson County Treasurer, and I just want to say I really appreciate my team. I could not do my job. I think my.
They're an awesome bunch. I worked with them for 8 years.
That works there, you know what, we can do, if they all called in sick one day, it wouldn't work. So anyway, I'm just gonna leave that right there. Plus I learned a whole bunch about drainage and sewage.
Never stop learning.
Oh my God. Okay, first thing on the agenda, the first insert in the handout is to approve the minutes from last year's, annual, meeting in January 19th.
Yeah, I looked those over. I didn't have a problem with it. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
The next item on the agenda is nominations for recommendation of the finance net from the commission. We need like a nomination for vice president and
Secretary. Which one we want to do secretary first, because I'll nominate Mary Ann for secretary.
Okay, I'll do secretary.
No, Mary Ann's.
Oh, okay,
The
okay,
treasurer's
okay,
usually
gotcha,
secretary,
Okay.
because she's got to get all that stuff together.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you're nominating her, I'm going to second it.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Okay, now who wants to be president? Who wants?
Whoever you want to be president.
I'm trying to look and see who was last year.
I think Mary, you will.
Yeah, I was.
Give it to it again, Mary.
That's fine.
Okay, I'll nominate Mary Key for president.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Mary Key's the president.
And then we have vice president.
Warren was vice president last year.
You want or you want
I'd be
Kenny?
glad to accept that position again, sure.
Okay, make-
All in favor.
No, we
signify
have
by
to make
saying
a
aye.
motion.
Make a motion. I thought he did just said he'd take it.
Well, he said he'd take it. He didn't make a motion. All in favor? Okay, all in favor. I'm saying it now, Kenny. I'll second that.
Who made the motion to begin with?
Kenny made the motion.
Okay.
I second. No, what's on
It's been a
second?
long night.
Yes.
Okay, vote. Vote on it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Call for a vote.
I did call for
I'll
it.
call for it again.
I don't hear an aye.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Next is and take a look, pretty consistent, our interest rate on the daily investment right now is 4.5. And if you take a look at October and then November of last year, there's a little discrepancy there. That's because we changed the account type. that we have,
Okay,
I have some
Okay, Kim?
other.
scoot away.
A drink? I don't want him joking to death, Mary Ann.
Give her some fruit.
Okay. It's the difference with that interest from October to November. We changed the account type and the interest comes in the middle of the month instead of at the end of the month. And so that's why October looks like it's a little bit less than November. So with it. But the total amount for interest for last year was $45,163.33. And if you take a look at the agenda compared to last year, that is the third that we had last year. It's also another third what we had for 19. Anyway, it's going down.
As we all know.
Yeah. Next is a readout of the collection of taxes by each district or unit. And divided in certain bargaining and these groups in the year also. The total is at the very bottom on the right hand side for each district. A lot of time to read.
Well, that's a good total. It's kind of in our norm for everybody.
You're on the total, and then on the very last page is the total of the county, and that is 90%.
Almost 98.5. That's really good. There's some counties that don't even hit 90.
Yeah, it's really good.
Gibson County has always been fortunate. We've always been very fortunate on our tax collection. Our citizens are very conscientious on paying their taxes. Me too, me too.
I know, I just put it in your eyes, so mine's gonna be more things.
Used to have people come in, and Mary Ann probably has experienced it too. Well, I pay your salaries, and I always looked at them and said, I do too.
Yeah.
And they kind of looked at me and I said, I pay my taxes, I pay my salary.
Sandy kind of helped me get all this together. She's so great with all the details. She was giving me a kind of comparison from the spring of 2015 until the spring of 2021 on the taxes paid. The amount there, if you really kind of look at that too. Now, we've been here a long time.
Oh, we need to do that.
We got 2-year-old warrants that have to be voided, by the Indiana code. We have to do when the checks have not been passed, we void those amounts. And this year, it's $354.85 total, and there were 12. And we had 13, and there was an outstanding check from Indiana Psychiatric Association 2 years ago. And I contacted them, and they said they never received a check, and so that check is voided, and that's going to be reissued. Over $2,000. The total for last year is $354.85.
And we need a motion to approve those write-offs.
Okay, we'll bring it to motion to approve. Anybody?
Motion, I'll make a motion. Approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Now, just so everybody understands, these are checks that were written by the county that they have not cashed in 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. Unlike most personal checks, county checks go for 2 years.
Yeah, services.
The next
Yeah.
handout is the
What they do with their money.
financial
Yeah.
report, and that is
Good point.
as of December 31st. And that's a account of all of the checks for the year, and then on the very last page, it's here, the ending balance. And, balance is, then the last page on that report too also gives you the amount that's in the tip account at this time because it's separate. The monthly comparison report is just medical treatment. We have to balance with them, and we balance every day, so there's no issue there with and then the last is just, and I need your glasses for this one because it's in the past, we've always given it kind of an assessment of what Toyota pays in the county, and that's on this very last page here. Really fine print, but it's a total print at the bottom. And that's also broken down into
It's the companies that are involved with TMMI and.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, this is a comparison from 18 until 2021, and the amount that they pay at the very bottom, total amount that play on and the spin-off companies. And then one other handout is from the Department of Local Government and Finance, and that gives you the tax rate for this upcoming year compared to the tax rate each district for last year. To increase or decrease. And probably need sign, but I like to change that, change at the very last minute, give you a cleaner copy.
Okay.
And email that to you or bring it to you.
Yeah. We'll get it signed and get it back to you.
One other thing I have is a contract we have with our billing company, LMD Mail Masters from Raleigh, but we don't have that yet.
Okay.
We will later on, February, March, so I have that.
Okay. So that's not with this one anyway. Do you have anything else for us? Okay, motion to adjourn the financial committee meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary
Now
Ann.
we need,
Sorry,
I'll make a motion to reconvene our commissioners meeting.
okay, let's do that.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm getting it.
I know you are. I have to hit you every once in a while, but
Yeah,
yes.
I know,
uh-huh.
I know.
You just checked off 3 things on the agenda.
Public hearing on the proposed lease.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Jason, you want to take this?
Yeah, sure. Is anybody here to be heard on the public hearing regarding the proposed lease between the county and the building corporation? If so, come to the podium, state your name and your position on the issue, please.
All right, Mary Ann.
It appears that nobody is here to express concern or comment on the proposed lease, so we will close the public hearing. And the next item on the agenda pertains to the same thing. It is, actually, it's not on the agenda, but there's a resolution to approve the lease. And this was previously, the form of this was previously voted on at, I believe it was December 7th meeting. And I would ask that the commissioners resolution number 2021.
2021?
I so moved.
2021.
Or 2022, excuse me.
Yeah, 2022.
Yeah.
-1, I guess, right? 2022-1, which is entitled Resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Gibson County, Indiana, approving the execution of a lease for certain jail facilities and authorizing related actions.
Now. I also move.
Jenny, there is a.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any discussion?
Who made the motion?
I did.
Mary, I seconded it.
Okay. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, now then, major medical leave, we have 4 of them. And we've all looked at them, so let's get it done.
Make a motion to approve the major medical.
I'll second.
Okay, second.
All.
And all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right, this. All right, conflict of interest disclosure. You want to take this again?
Well, I've got 2. One is on your agenda. I received a second one before the meeting. And the first one we'll take action on is Byron Christie. He submitted his conflict of interest disclosure. He discloses name of contractors or vendors, Hands-On Instruction LLC. Description of contracts or purchases, he puts CPR/medical training. So if the commissioners are willing to approve the disclosure, I would need a motion to do so.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I've got a second one submitted by Michael Stevenson. Michael Stevenson is a prospective appointee to the Parks Board. And he discloses that he works for SJCA Inc. And description of their contracts or purchases, he discloses consulting engineering services. So if the commissioners are willing to approve that disclosure, I need a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to approve Michael Stevenson.
I'll second that.
On favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
My throats are all the sinus drainage.
And Mr. Montgomery, before you adjourn, if I can bring up a couple of other things.
Really?
I know, I will be quick.
Mike don't need to sign that, does he?
No.
Huh?
He's waiting on you.
Not gonna,
Okay.
What?
can I bring up a couple of, I see that. Judge Mead, previously I had brought to your attention that he is asking for some windows going into circuit court from where Chuck the bailiff sits. If we can just think about that some more, and if we can vote on that at the next meeting. I know there was some previously expressing an interest in, instead of having them go vertically, go horizontally like the other one, matching with the public entrance. But think about that. His request is for the vertical ones and the 2 panels there. The other thing is we opened bids on the office building for probation, pretrial services, public defender, et cetera. And the low bid was submitted by Danco. This is the second go round at this. We previously rejected all bids. Danco submitted the low bid both times. The low bid submitted this time, again, Danco, $1,090,000. That's up from the previous bid that they submitted, but this does include all site work. And if you'll recall, I sent an email, just my guesstimate was 100 to 200,000 for site work. So that's pretty much within the anticipated bid amount for that included additional work. I would ask that the the commissioners approve awarding a contract to Danco, assuming the money is appropriated by the council.
Glad you put that in there. I so move.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, buddy.
Now can we adjourn?
I hope.
No.
Oh, I know.
Hush, Patty, hush.
All the time. I just wanted, I'm Patty from the Chamber of Commerce. I just wanted to invite all of those that are running for office or that are currently elected in office to our collaboration with Indiana Farm Bureau Ag Day breakfast, where we'll be having a political forum March 19th, which is a Saturday at 8 a.m. So if you guys know of anybody that would like to participate in that, speak, they have to RSVP so that we put them on the agenda. So I have.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How did your Betty White thing do?
Oh, it really well. We did get a lot of food donated and monetary donations. I don't know how much because the thing is locked, so we did. Mary hopefully will be able to give us a little bit more information on that.
I just thought that.
Yeah, it went really well, I thought.
Patty, what day did you say it was? March what?
March 19th.
19th. Okay.
It's Saturday, and it's at night at Columbus.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do
I
we
will
need
make
to-
a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.